Hey everyone, today we are going to be discussing work-life balance and talking about some practical steps on the path to balance and peace of mind. Balancing building a successful business and being a superstar mom is hard, and yet in today's digital world, it's more common than ever.
The question becomes, how do we successfully grow a business and children at the same time?
Join us for a candid conversation as we share our insights into marketing and motherhood. I'm Angela Reeder.
And I'm Jessie Valle. Welcome to the Marketing Moms Podcast.
Okay, so I know the path to balance and peace of mind sounds a little woo, a little manifestation-y, which if you've listened to very many of our episodes, you know is not really Jessie and I's thing. But the key word there is practical. We're going to be talking about some practical things that we can do that can actually make a difference in your day-to-day life.
I know, and that's something I was thinking too, especially as we are listening to our intro right now. And I'm just like, it's a candid conversation. We talk about realistic things. This is not like these are 5 things you should do because they will equal balance. It's like, no. Sure, there's tips, but what does it really look like?
Yes.
Especially with kids in the mix and trying to grow your business. Yeah. So I'm just like, first thing, it's like, okay, don't think this is going to be like the magic bullet solution to everything. We're just going to actually talk about how it really is.
Yeah.
But first, we probably need to discuss what exactly is balance. What does that mean?
Yeah, that's something that comes up a lot for us because when we try to explain balance, it's a little bit different than what people automatically think of, where everything is the same. I'm spending an equal amount of time and effort on my business and my family and myself, and everything is peaceful and level. And that's just not what balance looks like in a realistic situation.
Yeah. We are gearing up for our 100th episode.
Oh my gosh.
Next week. Stay tuned. But one of the things we're doing is we've reached out to other moms with businesses for some tips and tricks on next week's episode, which we'll get to then. Be sure to come back. But one of the things that one of the moms mentioned just kind of stuck out to us, and it was her definition of balance. Pull that up really quick. I believe balance is the art of being able to prioritize and reprioritize quickly.
I loved that when you said it because it's one of those things where it's what's in your head, but then somebody puts words to it and you're like, yes, that, exactly that.
Yeah. I think the big thing about that was not just prioritizing, because anybody can prioritize. Right. To me, it was the whole and reprioritize quickly, because that equals flexibility, especially with kids in the mix, because they're going to get sick. They're going to get hurt. They're going to have a school project. They're going to, do something that needs your attention. I take that back. Not even that it needs your attention, that you want to give it attention.
Yes. Yeah. And I think one thing that we sort of not really ignore, but should acknowledge because we tend not to, is that our businesses are the same way. Sure, there's things that come up with our kids. They get sick. They need picked up from school. They have a practice, a surprise, whatever. But things like that pop up in our business too, where a client needs something. We got a really big order and need to source some supplies to get it filled. That we don't reluctantly do these things. Like, we want to give it that time and attention that it deserves. And it's not like our business takes X amount of time and our kids take this variable up and down amount of time and attention. Our businesses take that variable amount of time and attention as well, and kind of making sure that those aren't becoming overwhelming in our lives, and that we're
Mm-hmm.
able to balance those variables is really, really important.
It's a really good point. Okay, so discussing balance, that I almost want to put balance
In
in
quotes.
quotations because it's like,
Me
is it
too.
something that's ever actually attainable? I feel like it's always going to be just like, it's not finding balance, it's finding peace of mind.
Yes.
Because to me, you can still have peace of mind in the chaos.
Yes. And it's not finding balance in that I've figured out this formula, and it's so if I do ABC every day, then every day goes smoothly. And so
Hmm.
now I've found balance.
Yeah. And we also discussed in a previous episode about how balance is not equal parts life and work. Like it's all your life.
Hmm.
The tipping point varies
Yeah,
depending on which part needs more attention at a certain time. And it's not like a formula that you use every single day.
right. It's like watching one of those moving pie graphs where like the different sizes get bigger and smaller, like, or the
Hmm.
different pieces of the pie get bigger and smaller. Like there's a finite amount of time and energy that you have,
Hmm.
and you have to make all of the things fit into that, but they're going to take up different amounts of that pie every day.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not going to be equal every day. Um, okay. So, one of the things you can do on that journey to finding peace of mind is really setting clear priorities. But according to our quote, you need to be able to reprioritize on the fly.
Yeah.
But if you sit down and think about your priorities in life ahead of time, that's definitely going to help
Hmm.
because you're going to come into a situation where it's like, okay, the school just called, my kid is sick, but I have to have this done for a client by 5 p.m. What do I do? Well, to me, it's obvious you drop everything and you go get your kid at school. Why?
Hmm.
Because to me, I've prioritized my kids over my client.
Yeah.
So that's an easy example, but sometimes it's not going to be so easy.
Well, and then,
And that might not be. It might be, I'm going to call somebody else to go get my kid because I have to get this done.
right.
It really depends on the situation. I can't speak for everyone.
Yeah. Well, and another part of that is that if you have been prioritizing leading up to that, then you will have automatically sort of had things in place that will make that decision easier. Like for me or for you, you were saying, like, my choice is I'm going to drop everything, go get my kid. Well,
Hmm.
because you prioritize your family, you have clients that understand that that's a thing that might happen. You know
That's
what I
true.
mean? You
We've
have
like set
clients
it
that
up
you
that
can
way.
communicate with, right? So it's not just the day-to-day prioritizing, it's that keeping the big picture in mind as you go through and make decisions that help you keep those priorities later on.
Yeah, it was interesting. Last week, so I'm very lucky in that my husband is a stay-at-home dad, and so childcare is not an issue for us. But he was gone at an event one day, and so I was trying to work and watch my 3-year-old at the same time. And it never fails, that they are the perfect definition of a child angel
Yes.
until
Till
you get on the
you
phone.
get on the phone. Yep.
Never
Or
fails.
you turn on
So,
that Zoom
anyway,
call.
my kid was a perfect angel until I was on the phone. Then, in the background, he's jumping up and down on the couch. I'm trying to mute myself and yell at him. I'm like, come on, it's like, seriously, dude. And I come back on, and the client I was talking to was like, your kid doesn't bother me, right? Because like you work at home, like it's just part of it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I know, but it bothers me. He's like, I know it bothers you, but it doesn't bother me. And then that's when it hit me like, the people I work with know I am a mom and I do prioritize family and
Hmm.
things like that are going to happen.
Yeah.
But it was just nice to like have that inner, oh my gosh, they're going to think I'm crazy because my kid's jumping on the couch behind me, which, dude, stop jumping on my couch. But then for him to say, Jessie, that doesn't bother me. I was like, oh, that's awesome. Like, I'm working with the right people.
Yeah. Yeah. And conversely to that, if your priority is getting your thing done for your client, you have probably somewhere along the way already set up with somebody, hey, if my kid gets sick, can I call you and have you pick them up so that I can finish this thing?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if that's a priority for you, you have likely already taken steps along the way to make it easier for you to have that as a priority.
For sure. Okay, so another part of setting the priorities is also establishing boundaries with others. So for me, it's like when people message me in the evenings and they don't hear back from me, I don't like they shouldn't be annoyed because I've set that boundary that like that I'm with my family.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm cooking dinner. Maybe I'm installing a ceiling fan like I was last night. It's like and that happened to me, right? Like I'm in the mid like I literally have a hole in my ceiling. I'm holding a screwdriver and yet I'm hitting play on a message from a client and I was like, "Why am I listening to this right now?" I like prioritize the hole in my ceiling, Jessie. Like and so I didn't really listen to the message. I kind of just set my phone aside and I went back to what I was prioritizing at the time because I established that boundary. No, like I'm busy. I'm not at your beck and call 24/7.
Yes.
Especially as a business owner and a contractor. Like I mean it depends if you are a service provider or not, but still like part of the reason I work for myself is so that I'm not at the beck and call of
Yeah.
others, right?
Yes.
Like I'm my own boss.
Yep. I actually had that conversation with a client the other day in my little welcome, thanks, I'm so excited to work with you packet. It mentions I have 3 kids. They're going to be in and out. If we happen to be on a call when they get home from school, I promise SWAT is not invading my house. And yes, I have had people tell me that's what it looks like. Uh, but you might see them, right? And also, here's when I work. I have a half day on Tuesday, blah, blah, blah. So I was talking to a client. I was telling him, oh, I'll reach out Wednesday or whatever. And they were like, isn't that your half day? Isn't that your day with your family? Like, don't reach out. Like, don't do that. And I was like, actually, that's Tuesday, but thank you for remembering that. And that is awesome. Oh, and also flip side of that, setting boundaries with my kids. Now my kids are older.
Mm-hmm.
I know Jessie and I've talked about that before, and my kids have, and as a matter of fact, the younger two don't ever remember me not having a business because they were so young when I started this. But as they've gotten older, I've set boundaries for them where if I am on a call, you cannot come ask me for 800 things. Like, the answer is no, unless somebody is bleeding or something's on fire. You just have to wait. And they will stand like just off camera. Like they figured out how to get just off camera and like try to get my attention. And I'm like, no. And then they just kind of go away. So it's boundaries on both ends that help keep me sane. The boundaries with my clients, the boundaries with my kids, and boundaries around my time so that I don't feel like everybody wants everything all at the same time.
Right. And also just being able to plan it ahead of time is really good. I know that you, for example, have your little open and closed sign for your kitchen. So that's something now the kids don't have to come and bother you. Mommy, I'm hungry. Can I have a snack? Like my open closed sign says right there, if it's open, go get a snack on your own. Like totally. You don't even have to ask because I've already established right there the answer.
Exactly.
Or if it says closed, like again, you don't have to ask because the kitchen is closed. So yeah, that's, there are ways to think about it ahead of time and combat it. Yeah. So I like that. Another part of establishing boundaries, I think this goes hand in hand with it, is learning to say no. And, people say that all the time. Here's my realistic, candid conversation about learning to say no. It's easier said than done.
Yes.
So to me, it's not about learning to say no. It's about, I mean, let's be realistic about it. If someone, like a client comes to you at, I don't know, you know what? This happened yesterday. It was 4 o'clock my time, 5 o'clock someone else's time that I was dealing with, and we got, hey, we need this page built by tomorrow. I mean, did we say no? No. We said yes, and we made it happen. And you know what? I hopped on a conference call with two other people, literally on my phone in my kitchen. I am chopping chicken on camera. I am chopping raw chicken while I'm telling them what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? It was fine. Why? One, because they know I'm a mom and I have a family and I'm cooking. Two, they knew what time it was, that it was almost dinner time in my household. So they didn't care that I was
Yeah.
chopping chicken while I'm just talking to them. What did it matter if I had the same conversation with them down in my office or in the kitchen chopping chicken? Like,
Yeah. I think that is one thing that has changed a lot since the pandemic. Whereas
mm,
pre-pandemic, everybody was expected to be very professional. And
yeah.
and now it's a lot more acceptable to be very open about this is what's going on. And
Hmm.
yeah, it's almost dinner time and you surprise me with a thing, so you get to watch me chop chicken while we discuss it. Like,
Exactly. But yeah, it's also like, you're right. It's the expectation of, you know what? I bet you anything, not a single person I talked to yesterday is thinking about me chopping chicken on a call yesterday.
no, I tell my oldest that a lot when she gets nervous about ordering food, which
Mm,
apparently is common with teenagers now. Did not know that, but I've had a lot of parents mention it to me recently. And I tell her, like, I worked in fast food. I was sat at the register, stood at the register. You're not allowed to sit. Are you kidding me? Stood at the register and took orders. And I was like, I don't remember. I mostly don't remember any of those people. I certainly don't remember any one person that came in one time, no matter how flustered, how wrong, how long it took him to count out change. Like, they are not thinking about you 5 minutes after you
hmm.
leave. Like, the minute you get your food and walk away from the counter, they're not thinking about you anymore. And
Yeah.
I think it's hard for us to realize that about even people that we work with or like have conversations with. Like you said, nobody is sitting here today going, I can't believe Jesse was chopping chicken on that phone call.
No, all they're thinking is, heck yes, we
We
finished
got
that
it
project
done.
after it got dumped on us at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's like, I did not have to turn what I was doing, my whole world upside down,
Yep.
because a client needed something immediately. I didn't say no.
Hmm.
And that's the other thing. People are like, learn how to say no. And I'm like, you know what? There are pieces of that, right? I said no to dropping everything and going down to my office to look quote unquote professional.
Yeah.
But I still said yes to, so to me, it's like not all about learn how to say no. It's like you got to learn how to say yes to the right things.
Yes. Well, and that's the key is the learning how to say no. It's not learning to say no, as in just say no
Hmm.
to everything. It's learning how to say no is when and where and to what and in what
Hmm.
way. Like you said, I said no to dropping everything and running downstairs so that I would look professional, but I didn't have to say no to getting on the call and helping people that needed me.
Right. And that's something else I actually saw in an Instagram post yesterday. Was I know that I've heard this before, and I've said it before, like, if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no.
Yeah.
But it's like, they said it differently. They said, yeah, if it's not a definite yes, it's a no. And I'm like, well, what are they talking about? They said if it's a non-urgent,
Mhm.
non-important item.
Yeah.
So in my mind, it was urgent that we did that call right then,
Mhm.
but it wasn't like so important that I had to drop what I was doing.
Right.
So I did it because it was urgent or important, but it wasn't like if it was not urgent and not important, I would have said, "Nope, we can have this conversation tomorrow."
Yeah. Yeah, but the
So
not urgent,
it's also
not
about that
important
whole
part of
prioritizing on the fly.
yeah,
Like, is it urgent? Is it important?
the not urgent, not important part of that being dropping everything and going downstairs to your computer.
Exactly. Exactly. It was not urgent or important that I stopped chopping my raw chicken that was all over my hands. Okay. So, yeah. Yeah. Another thing is delegating and outsourcing, which can be difficult to let go. But that was something that, for example, in that immediate moment, like, oh, we need this. I could have said, you know what? I'm just going to drop everything and go do it myself.
Mhm.
And instead, I was like, nope, I'm going to keep chopping this chicken and I'm going to tell these people what to do.
Right.
I'm going to disseminate and delegate to these people because I don't have to be the one doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that works in business and at home. And I know everybody's probably seen the little chore charts by age, which I used to
Yeah.
love, and then I realized were just awful. Like, I know my kid is capable of unloading the dishwasher. That doesn't mean I want them to. But, like, for example, in our house, we have a chore chart that has we go room by room. We have a list of this is what needs done every day in this room, and we all rotate rooms. And so all of the little things of making sure the trash gets picked up, sweeping the floor, cleaning the cat box, making sure the animals are fed, it gets done every day, but I'm not the one that has to do all of it because
Mhm.
we're delegating to
Yeah.
our kids, to my husband. We're all sort of helping out. Um, so it's not just a thing where if you have someone working for you in your business, which is awesome, you can delegate to that or you can get subcontractors, bring people in. I know we've discussed that before, but it's also something you can do at home. Even if it's something as simple as telling your 6 or 7 year old, hey, at the end of the day, I need you to go through the living room, pick up all of the dishes, and put them in the sink for me.
Yeah. It's interesting that you say that because something did happen yesterday after I chopped the chicken that has never happened before. Is my 7-year-old came up to me and said, "Hey, can I help you cook dinner?" I mean, they ask all the
Ooh.
time with that kind of stuff. I was like, "Yeah, sure, whatever." Um, I was just making chicken and rice. But like after I had already done the chicken, I taught her how to know the chicken was done.
Hmm.
And then she did the rice part. Like she, followed directions, she did it, and then not only that, she was so excited. I was standing there, again, hands all dirty, cutting a cantaloupe, and she took the chicken and rice, got plates out, filled the plates for everybody, found out what side dishes we should put on, filled the plates, and put them on the table for everyone, even me. I'm like,
Awesome.
my 7-year-old just served me dinner. Like, this has never happened before. I think my life is changing right now. So it's also like, I didn't have to be the one to
Yeah.
serve myself, even. And not that I delegated it, but I allowed her to do it, which
Hmm.
was like a way for her to learn how to contribute, but also the power that she has, not being told, no, you're too little, you can't do that.
Yeah.
But she could also feel good about helping. And that's the thing too about delegating and outsourcing is sometimes you are giving others the chance to shine when you don't just do everything.
Yeah.
And I've had that happen in business too, where like I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna learn how to do this. No, let the person who already knows and it comes naturally to them and they want to do it, let them shine. Why do you have to go learn something that you're not naturally good at and you don't know how to do?
Yes. Yep. I really like that.
Trusting is difficult, I think.
Trusting
If
is
we're talking
difficult.
reality, it's the trusting part, trusting others to do what it is they set out to do.
Yeah. Yeah, that's difficult.
It is very difficult. Um, Another thing about that journey to finding peace is practicing self care, prioritizing self care. A lot of people think, oh, well, hey, it's a work life balance. But when you talk about life, you often just, especially as a mom, you think about others.
Yes.
And it's hard to think about yourself. You think about yourself last. But you are not going to find peace in life unless you fulfill your own needs.
Yes. I have a kind of a random but good example of this.
Ooh, can't wait.
Last summer when it started to get warm, I started taking my coffee out to the deck in the mornings. Now,
Mhm,
normally I would bring my coffee to my desk and I would get work done while my kids were getting ready for school or whatever. But summer came, and instead of getting up at 7, sitting down at my desk trying to get as much work done as I could before my kids got up, I took my coffee out to the back deck and sat down. And that was my thing. Even if my kids got up, they knew I'm going to be on the back deck. You can like wait till I get back in or make yourself cereal because my kids are old enough for that. Um,
mhm,
and I didn't really think much of it. It was just like I just really enjoy being out here and sitting in the quiet for a minute before I have to deal with my day. But about 2/3 of the way through the summer, my husband mentioned, it's like I can tell the difference when you take time to go have your coffee in the morning or when you take an afternoon break and go sit on the back deck. Like I can tell the difference. That was like self care that I wasn't really thinking of as self care. You know what I mean?
mhm,
Like I didn't really think of it as like, ooh, I'm gonna have time to myself, like you see with the spa and the like, ooh, and the flowers. Like I didn't
mhm.
think of it like that. I was just like, I just want to have some coffee and nobody talking to me for a minute.
Ooh, I like that.
But it made a difference. And I even though I didn't really notice it, the people around me noticed it. Like I was getting more done at
Mhm,
work. My family noticed that I was not as stressed and things like that. And they were willing to help me. Like my kids were willing to leave me the heck alone until I was done with that cup of coffee because they could
mhm,
tell the difference. And so I think a lot of times when we think of self care, we've talked a lot about in the past where we think of self care as like, I'm going to take an extra long shower. Like that's not self care.
mhm. It's basic
That's
hygiene.
basic hygiene. But, something like I just want to have my cup of coffee in peace, like that can be
Mhm.
self care.
Yeah. Like, it doesn't have to be this huge thing.
It doesn't have to be an hour massage every week.
Right.
Don't get me wrong, that would be nice.
So, to me, it's like, yeah, everybody says, "You need to work on self-care and da 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 da," but let's talk about it realistically. Realistically, sometimes it can just be 10 minutes on the deck by yourself.
Hmm.
Like, you gotta find realistic ways to implement that self-care because it's part of life.
And not feeling guilty about it. That was the other part. The coffee on the deck was something that I did for myself that I didn't feel guilty about. I
Yeah.
didn't feel guilty about taking that time for myself. Whereas there are other things that I would do, like taking time to read a book or play video games or whatever, where I would feel guilty, like, oh, I should be cleaning, I should be doing this, I should be doing that. But the not guilty coffee on the back deck for my sanity, like that I think was
Yeah.
the biggest part of it was that I didn't spend the whole time going, I really should be inside working.
Yeah. Or I really should be inside helping the kids with XYZ.
Right. Yeah.
I know sometimes I fall into that trap of exercising. It's like, how can I take time to exercise when I could be
Yep.
doing an extra load of laundry, when I could be spending, time doing this? It's tough. Okay. I think the last thing that I want to talk about in your journey to peace of mind is just like being flexible. I mean, we've kind of already touched on this, but just it's expect the unexpected. We've talked a lot in the past of our past 99 episodes
Yeah.
about expectations being the evil
Mm-hmm.
thing that really hurts you. It blocks you in so many, at least me, it blocks me in so many aspects of my life. I expect one thing, and when it doesn't happen, I get upset.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like my day is ruined. I'm, disappointed in others. It's about having those realistic expectations. So for me, it's like be flexible. Expect that someone's going to come to you at 4 p.m. saying they need some big project the next day.
Yes.
Expect that your kid on the most inconvenient day is going to go to the nurse and the nurse will call you.
Yep.
Like, expect these things to happen because
Expect that the time
they
you're
will.
running just a little bit late to the doctor's office, you're going to need to stop for gas.
Oh, yeah.
I actually have a really cool thing that I heard recently, and I will tag the person in the, if you're listening on Instagram, I'll tag it in the Instagram thing. But she was talking about save points in the day. Now, if you've played video games, you're familiar with the concept of save points. And there's
Mhm.
actually a really funny meme going around about the point when, oh my goodness, look at this really convenient like health kit here, and the game just auto saved, and now there's music playing, right? But like it's the idea is that you get to these points where the game saves, and then if something happens you get back to that same point, save point, without having to start the game all the way over, is kind of the
Mhm.
idea. And she was talking about having save points in her day where no matter what's happened up to that point, she can stop, reset, and move forward again without having to drag along all that stuff. Like you said, you something happens, you get frustrated, you feel like your whole day is ruined. You have these points during your day where you can stop, take a breath, let go of all the stuff from the morning, and move
Mhm.
forward starting fresh. And I
Oh, I
really,
like
really
that
liked that
because
concept.
sometimes I simmer a
Right?
lot.
All day. Get to the end of the day and you're like,
Although, would it really be the worst thing? Oh, you have to start your day over. Well,
right,
cup of coffee
cup of coffee.
coming right
Yeah,
up.
exactly. Better have that cup of coffee. But yeah, I really liked that idea of save points, that like whatever's happened during the day, we're going to stop, we're going to save, we're going to let all that go, and then we're going to start fresh
Mhm.
moving forward.
In high school, I played softball all 4 years and I was a pitcher. And one of the qualities of a good pitcher, I'm not saying whether I was good or bad, I'm just not going to touch that. But one of the qualities of a good pitcher in general is that once a pitch leaves your hand, like that's it. Don't worry about it anymore. Because you maybe, I think the hardest times were the times that I accidentally hit the batter. It happens to the best of us. It's hard to let that go because then you're like, oh no, like what if I hit the next person? Like, did I hurt her? Is she okay? And then it's like, no, you got to let it go
Mm-hmm.
because in the next pitch, you got to have a clear head. You got to be focused on what you're doing. You can't let like, you got to compartmentalize each and every pitch individually. And it's like that sometimes in life too. It's really hard to compartmentalize when you've made a mistake. But guess what? You're human.
Yeah.
Or something didn't go the way you had planned. Guess what? That's life. So I like that idea of resetting and just dropping whatever happened in the morning.
Yeah. Yeah, I really, really liked that concept. And I've been trying to kind of implement that a little bit with my kids too, because they also tend to like my youngest got up this morning and just immediately, she had come downstairs, she'd been awake all of 5 minutes, and
Mhm.
just put her head on my shoulder and growled at me. And I was like, "Are you having a day?" And she was like, "Yes." And I was like, "You've only been awake 5 minutes. How about we stop and take a breath and start fresh?" But
Yeah.
it's especially when you're young. Like, she woke up, she was tired, so she gave herself an extra 5 minutes. She woke up again, she was still tired. She couldn't find her shoes. Like, it was just 5 minutes of just one right after the other. And she was like, "That's it. The
Yeah.
whole day's ruined."
Yeah. The whole day's
The
ruined.
whole day's ruined. And so I've been trying to kind of talk about that with them too, that you could like stop, take a breath. We're going to start fresh and we're going to move forward.
You make a good point. It's not always about you and finding your own balance. It's also about what you are portraying to your kids
Mm-hmm.
because you are their ultimate teacher, mentor, sensei.
Yes.
So just think about when you do something, they see it and the actions speak louder than words.
Mm-hmm.
So when you took your cup of coffee out on the back deck, to them, that was them realizing the power of a cup of coffee,
Yes.
um, the power of taking a minute for yourself and not feeling guilty about it,
Mm-hmm.
and the power of having that permission to do what you need to do for you.
Yeah.
And so you are simultaneously teaching your children that through your actions. And that's sometimes what you got to learn. So what did my kids learn last night when I was chopping chicken on a call? They learned, you know what? Sometimes mommy needs to work and it's okay to work while you're chopping chicken because you're getting the thing that the end result is going to be the same.
Yes.
Whether you're chopping chicken in the kitchen or you're down in the quote unquote professional environment.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Letting our kids see us navigate life and business can teach them a lot. And I know I've talked a lot about my alarms on my phone. I have like 8
Mhm.
alarms that go off every day. Uh, and it used to embarrass me a little bit because I was like, my kids are going to remember that I had to have an alarm to put them on the bus in the morning. But then my kids started setting alarms for things. And I realized they weren't looking at it as mom would forget to put us on the bus if she didn't have the alarm. They were looking at it as mom knows she would forget to put us on the bus, so she did something to keep that from happening. So I
Mhm.
started like my kids will set alarms for I want to remember to send my friend this email when I get home. Like I one of their phones went off yesterday. I looked at it and the alarm said like check your email. Let your friend know you got home. Like so they see that and it like I said, it used to embarrass me, but then I realized that they were seeing it for what it was. They were seeing it as my way of trying to help myself navigate the day without dropping balls along the way. And they're starting to emulate that and they're starting to find their own ways to do that, which is just really cool to watch.
It is cool. It's almost a a lesson in
A
responsibility.
little bit. And I didn't even have to sit them down and lecture them about it.
Exactly. So I guess after all this, we would say that balance is something that I don't know if it's ever actually achievable because every day is different, every moment is different. But achieving peace of mind in your life is achievable.
Yes. Yeah, I think it's a little bit like housework. It's secular. There's
Mm,
not such a thing as like it's clean or it's dirty. It's like it's in the process of getting dirty or in the process of getting clean. And I feel like balance is a little bit like that. You are in the process of finding balance or you are falling out of balance. And you just kind of have to keep meandering back and forth and hope that, strive for more of the getting into balance.
yeah. And knowing that even in those times of a little bit of imbalance, you can still have peace of mind.
Hmm.
So it's like, it's the journey, not the destination type thing.
Oh, see, we started woo and now we're finishing woo.
Yeah. So that's our candid take on balance. One of the things that we wanted to let you guys know is, yes, again, this is the 99th episode. Next week is episode 100, and we have something super special planned. So if you want to be the first to know about all the new things coming up, be sure to head over to marketingmomspodcast.com and sign up for our mailing list. You'll get emails when you get emails. I am not going to promise anything of any sort of routine because it has not happened in the 2 years we've been doing this podcast, and I am going to be 100% honest about that.
That's true. And I will say I am on our mailing list because of course I am, and I never know when they're coming out either, but it's not a lot. Like, it's not going to fill up your inbox where you're like, "Oh my gosh, it's another email this week."
Yeah. No, but we would still like you on it.
But yes, but you do get to learn some really cool things and hear some really cool stories.
When I have a whim of a life lesson, I like to write about it. But also you can just follow us over on Instagram at Marketing Moms Podcast. We are definitely more active over there.
Yes.
DM us, email us, whatever. We're open all the time. But anyway, we have something ridiculously cool coming up next week. So be sure to join us then. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, you know where to find us. We'll see you next week. Thank you for joining us today. We're so honored this is where you chose to spend your time.
If this episode helped you in some way, please share it with another mom who needs to hear it. We're in this together.
And if you're ready for next steps, free goodies, and more, head over to marketingmomspodcast.com.
We'll see you next week.